I'd like to cover another controversial subject which covers 5G and mobile phones, mobile reception, the internet and what's coming down the road. Obviously with 4G, we've had that for years now, and we can do most things. We can, send texts, get messages, watch videos on our mobile phones, cell phones, but according to the 5G, the speed is going to be 1,000 times faster, and the movies that you'd normally watch on Netflix or somewhere else could need buffering, could be slow, could be dropouts. With the 5G, it'll be just super fast, 1,000 times faster in fact. So if you're on your laptop and you want to download a movie, it might take 5 seconds instead of 10 minutes or 5 minutes. So the speed is going to be phenomenal, and in Australia it'll take over from the NBN, which is the broadband network, which has been a total fiasco from the start. So basically Wi-Fi and towers are going to go up in every city street, every block, on houses. On a scientific level and a purely commercial level, it's going to open up a whole lot of driverless cars and all sorts of things. But on a physiology and anatomy level, on a human being or animals, it'll be devastating because of the frequency. It's like a microwave frequency. So what I'd like to do is present again both sides of the story, and you make up your own mind. But for this that's coming, you need to protect yourself. There is no doubt about that. You're going to need some sort of shielding, whether it's on your house, on your mobile phone. It's not good. It's not good. If people are getting brain cancer with 4G, imagine what you're going to get with 5G. And obviously, there's no government or telco that are going to tell you that. So sit back and watch some cutting edge, scientific and well-balanced views on the 5G that's coming. Thank you for watching.
"5G is a weapon. It's used by the military. Do you know these 5G millimeter wave technologies are used to scatter crowds? They drive up in this technology when they want to scatter a cloud, and they put out these frequencies in a much higher power than 5G will be initially with us, but the same frequencies. And people scatter because they get the feeling their skin is on fire. Because the human body, including the skin, is an antenna. It interacts with frequencies, and it receives and transmits information. At the cutting edge of understanding of DNA, scientists know that DNA is a receiver-transmitter of information. And so we are electromagnetic, electrical organisms, transmitters and receivers of information. When our electromagnetic fields are in balance and harmony, we have health. We have psychological health and we have physical health. The reason that this technological society is causing so much psychological and quote, physical disease is because these frequencies, technologically driven, and we live in this Wi-Fi world now and all the phone masts and all the rest of it, these technologically generated frequencies are scrambling the balance of the human electromagnetic electrical communication systems. And if you scramble them, you create a state of disharmony, dis-ease, which plays through to physical and mental, emotional, psychological dis-ease. And there's another point to this. The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically. And it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can externally, even without connection to AI, although that's the piece de la resistance, if you like, that's the kind of holy grail. But even before that, you can influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna.
Okay.
Now, some decades ago, there was a guy who worked out the frequencies of different emotional states. This is long ago. I mean, it's very, very sophisticated now. So every thought, every emotional response is a frequency. It generates a frequency, and it is of itself a frequency. Hate is a frequency, and it's different to love. You know, when you are in a room and there's lots of aggression and conflict and hatred, you feel it. What do people say? Oh God, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in there. That is because the frequencies of hate and conflict have been so generated, they have changed the electromagnetic field of the room.
Okay, so 5G is going to be weaponized against us potentially.
Yeah, but the point being that they worked out the frequencies of various emotions, including rage and what have you. And basically, they can play across a community these frequencies without anyone knowing, and it starts to have an effect, and it starts to build rage, it starts to build anger, and people might not realize why they're feeling it, but they start to feel it. And then what they do is they trigger that with an event. Maybe some guy is attacked by the police or something, or somebody's arrested for something they didn't commit, and now there's the trigger. The blue touch paper's been lit of this manufactured frequency-driven rage, and you have mass riots and what have you, and people do things that they wouldn't normally do. And you can make people depressed. You know, the American military, they've admitted this. They have technology that fires frequencies at the enemy that basically breaks the enemy's spirit, so they give up and put their weapons down. This is the technology we're dealing with. Now, you take that into account, and then you think of 5G. First of all, 5G doesn't travel well because of the nature of its frequency. So instead of big towers, as we have now, broadcasting these frequencies long distances, it won't do that. And it doesn't go through solid objects, what we call solid objects, very well either. So to overcome that, there are going to be boxes broadcasting 5G, this weapon, down every street, all over the world. You're talking phenomenal numbers of these boxes, broadcasting like on the lamp standard outside your children's bedroom and stuff, broadcasting this stuff. There's no way you'll be able to go where you won't be in a field of 5G. And another interesting thing, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but the story broke, first of all, in Sheffield, when the council started cutting down literally thousands and thousands and thousands of mature trees in urban streets. And there were big protests about it. You know, Sheffield claimed to be a green city, but all these mature trees were coming down, thousands of them. And my brother, he works as a call-out bus mechanic. So a bus will break down, they'll call him, he'll come down and fix it on the side of the road. So he's traveling all the time. And he's saying it's amazing how many mature trees are being cut down. Overwhelmingly in urban places. Now, the worst nightmare, I'm not saying cause and effect, but I'm saying think on it. The worst nightmare of 5G in a street is mature trees, because it can't get through them. They don't want urban trees for 5G because it won't go through solid objects very well at all, and it doesn't travel far. So we're going to have this explosion of 5G transmitters. And then, going back to what I said earlier, and they've admitted this too, there's gonna be like 20,000 satellites up there beaming 5G at the Earth.
You were saying under 5 microwatts per meter squared is safe.
That's correct.
Yeah. And we're out here and we're getting
140, 180, 190.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a massive order of magnitude higher.
And by 5:30, I don't know what time it is now, but by 5:30,
close.
Those readings will be higher
because everybody's using their phones.
Using their
phones.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's amazing.
Holy shit.
Sorry about the shaky camera, guys. We're on the road right now. I have been for 5 hours. I'm in Kelowna, British Columbia today to meet up with a man named Curtis Stone, but you may know him on YouTube as the Urban Farmer. And the reason why I took the time to drive all the way out here to meet up with Curtis today is because he is doing something that I find incredible. I think it's very forward-thinking. I think he's going to be seen as a pioneer. Some people may call him crazy. I think it's incredibly smart. He is 5G proofing his house. We're talking about an electromagnetic resistant paint. He's going to be redoing the windows, redoing the ceiling, and completely making his entire home resistant to electromagnetic frequencies. We're also going to be speaking with an EMF expert, a man who understands how these electromagnetic frequencies affect our health, our psyche, and why we don't want these to be entering our bodies, and why it's a good idea to 5G proof your entire home. So stick around, guys. We're on our way to the Urban Farmer's home, Curtis Stone, to watch him 5G proof his household.
Urban Farmer Curtis Stone, man, thank you so much for having me here. It's so unbelievably important and cool what you are doing right here, right now, 5G proofing this house. This is amazing. Tell us a little bit about what's going on right here, right now, because it looks like there's a layer of paint going on.
Yeah, so right now we're painting the house with this product called Y-Shield, which is made in Germany. And it's basically has these like nanoparticles in it. But the basic idea is it's going to make our house a dead zone for Wi-Fi, cell signals, radio frequencies, 5G, most importantly. So you won't even be able to get a cell signal in the house. That's the idea. And so right now we're painting this stuff on, and then we're gonna cover it with just normal house paint after that, so the house isn't black. And after that, we're actually we're re-roofing in the summer, and so it's kind of like perfect opportunity to do this. Then we're laying down an aluminum screen, basically a mesh, under the roof, and then we're re-roofing from there. And so basically our house will be like super tight, no signals coming in.
Isn't that similar to what they call, I think it's called a Faraday cage, or is that something different?
I think so. That's a similar thing. I think that I've seen that before with like copper wire and stuff like that. I think that's what you're talking about. It's similar, and it's not as uncommon as you think. Like I've met some really rich people that have been into this stuff for a long time that have been doing this. So it's not. Maybe these products are becoming more accessible because it wasn't that expensive. Like to buy the paint for this was like $1,000, and we actually won't even use all of it. So, I mean. And then by the when we do redo the screen and all that, that might be another couple thousand. So if all in all I spend $3,000 to proof my house, that's a damn good investment. The next thing we're going to do is we're putting a film on the windows, and then the whole thing is done because we actually put aluminum screen behind the trim too. Mm-hmm. So like every bit of this house is buttoned up from EMF. Yeah.
Now, some might wonder why would there be a need to do such a thing, and I can point to a million examples. I mean, we just had police being caught using the Stingray devices to spy on people's devices without a warrant and things of that nature. But we also have this thing called 5G coming down the road. Oh, yeah. So talk a little bit about some of the reasons on why you're doing this. I assume privacy, health, maybe you can get into it. What are some of the aspects of 5G that concern you?
Well, the biggest aspect is my children, and they say children, because their skulls are so thin, are a lot more susceptible to this. So that was like probably the biggest motivator. We had a home birth, and we're going to have another home birth if all goes well, and we want our children to be born into an environment that's healthy and safe. And so that's the biggest motivator. I mean, the 5G is certainly one thing. The nice thing about 5G is that it's still, there are people pushing back on it, and it's not rolled out in Canada, or at least in British Columbia. I haven't seen any 5G. In the US though, it's everywhere, at least in Arizona and California, the last two states I spent a lot of time in, and it's everywhere. I don't know if it's being used yet, but those millimeter waves are dangerous. I mean, it's not hard to actually find very good, credible scientific evidence on this stuff. I went and saw a scientist speak in Kelowna. This was a number of years ago. I forget his name, but Ross Anderson, who we'll probably talk to, he knows who he is. And anyways, this guy worked for the Canadian military for 30 or 40 years in the electromagnetic weapons department, and this was about the smart meter thing when they were rolling those out, and the evidence that he presented, and it was all based on true science, was terrifying. And so basically I'm just like, it's not worth it to me to take the risk. And we're going into a world of, they call the Internet of Things, and so everything is going to be broadcasting electromagnetic frequencies and millimeter waves from the 5G, and so I want to do the best I can to protect ourselves from that. And the nice thing about the house is we spend most of our lives are spent in our homes, and even more from that are in our bedrooms. So like, even if somebody's watching this and going, well, I can't afford all this to do my entire house, do your bedroom. And there's actually a lot of videos on YouTube of people doing this. A lot of people in Europe are doing this too. Like this is not unheard of. Mm-hmm. And if you can even just start with painting your bedroom, so it means you got to paint this black stuff in your bedroom, and then you just do like whatever color you want over top of that. But it's doable, and like there is something you can do to stop this like absolute onslaught. And so for me, I'm just a proactive person, and I don't want to just sit by and complain about the system and the state and all these corporations that have the ability just to railroad us without any accountability. I'm just like, what can I do now? And so that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. Well, as people I'm sure are going to obviously notice, you got quite the front yard garden going on here. So it's not just 5G proofing the outside, but you're food proofing, as it were, for yourself and your family on the inside too, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And we're always trying to do more and grow more food and do more. Our house is solar powered, and we're doing a lot there. And actually, it's interesting with the solar, just as I think about it, a lot of people criticize solar for producing a lot of electromagnetic frequencies, and Ross Anderson, who I hired, who is a consultant who does EMF consulting, he actually looked at our house, and the solar actually doesn't do much. The cell tower that's 2 blocks away puts out way more electromagnetic radio frequencies or whatever they're called that comes to the house than the solar does. But once we have our mesh up underneath the roof, the solar inverters, which do produce a little bit of frequency, there'll be nothing at that point.